the standout story for me probably is my first year as a principal. And I came into a school that had been on academic watch, so it was a struggling school. It was a school in which teachers for years had done hard work but hadn't been seeing the student results. And one of the things that I recognize with that, having been in education for a while, is there's an attrition factor. Teachers can only be asked to do so much so often in which they don't get results before they become less willing to engage in those ways. They'll work really hard, but if you don't see the academic results and someone says, this is the way to go and this is the way to go, and it doesn't happen, eventually there's kind of a shutdown mode of I'm just going to do what I do. And so I felt like I was coming into a school like that. And the story basically is that I came in, I interviewed and talked with all the folks the year before. So once I was hired as principal, I felt like my first job was to learn about them. And so I sat with them team by team, grade level by grade level, and I really approached it with 3 questions. My first question was, what do you do well? And so as to your question, it was really just asking them that same very thing. What is your strength? What am I going to come in and see that is a strength of yours, a great area of yours? The second part was, what are you struggling with? What are the challenges that we want to take on? And I'm thinking, we'll draw from our strengths, but clearly there's challenges that we want to take on. And then the third question I asked them is, what do you want from me? Because to me, it's a partnership, and they're going to expect and want things from me, and I'd rather have them name it than me assume it or guess it. So with those questions and a lot of that sort of fodder, that summer I kind of organized what I thought we were going to do. And mostly what they said is, we've got to get discipline in the school. This was a school that was lacking discipline, lots of suspensions, lots of struggles and things like that. But I've never found discipline all that compelling. I think you used the word ignite. I've never found people get ignited around discipline. What I felt like people want to do is they want to send things to the office and let someone else take care of discipline. I wanted a place that was going to create a culture of positive sort of reinforcement. So over the summer, did my fair amount of reading, came to the staff the next year, and my reframing to them was simply, what I heard you say is you want to teach. You want to do what you love most. Everyone in this room, and I think I had a staff of about 45, everyone in this room got into teaching because you wanted to change kids' lives. You wanted to go into the classroom and do the things that you loved. You've been challenged by that because of some of the things that kids have done and the ways that kids have acted. And what we need to find is a way that we can manage the behaviors, not be disciplinarians or punitive folks, but ways that we can help kids understand what they're doing, understand what the impact of what they're doing is on the teaching. So the reframing was, it's not discipline that you want to do what you love most, and that's teach. We sat in a circle on that day. There were about 60 of us in that room. We sat in a circle. We introduced ourselves. We spent time talking with each other before we got to the content. We talked about our summers. We talked about our hopes. And then we read an article that grounded us. And I think that was really important because it wasn't me who was saying, this is what we have to do. It's, I heard you say this. Here's something that helps our thinking. And then we collectively came around that article and we just talked about it. We talked about what the article tells us, what ideas emerged out of it. And what was fascinating, Joe, on this was, by the time we finished the article, and I sort of modeled some things that I thought of ways we could coach kids as opposed to discipline them, own our teaching practice, but do it in a way that modifies behaviors, you could see the teachers getting fired up. You could see them kind of playing in their minds what was possible. And when it all came down to it, I think what happened in that situation was, when we left the room, they started creating documents. They started creating ways that they would do it in their classroom. We talked about what it would look like school-wide. None of it was mine. Not a single part of it was me telling what we were going to do. It was me asking the question and assuming that what you want to do is this. When they nodded, then we just together kind of decided that's the direction we're going. And it led to hope. I would say the single thing that emerged really was hopefulness. So in the state of Colorado, 3rd grade is the first one to do any testing, and they do it several weeks on the state test before anyone else, the 3rd grade reading scores. So we took our tests, and I told teachers, I said, don't ask anything special of kids. Don't do anything differently. We're doing what we do. The test will take care of itself. However, ask the kids for their very best, because what we want to know is what they know. And the only way we can know that is if they give their very best. That's all we're going to ask of them, and that's all I've asked of you. And I remember I was in Chicago for a facilitators conference, and I got the results online, and I read the results, and you trust that whatever happens is going to happen, but you want a certain thing, but you almost don't want to let yourself go there, not yet, until you see something. And we had moved from 57% the previous year on our reading scores to 72% that year. And I saw the scores. I'm doing backflips, and I thought, these are not my scores. These are the third grade teachers' scores, and all the teachers that preceded them. So I called each of the 4 teachers that night and told them that I got the scores back, told them what the scores were, and I can remember there was 2 of the teachers that broke down in tears at that time. And I think it was just that emotional release of, we hoped, we trusted, but we still didn't know. Maybe this is going to work, maybe it's not, and it was phenomenal. And that then became a whole school celebration. That then grew into, we went up on 9 of 12 measures. We closed achievement gaps between our special ed students and our regular students, our minority students and our regular. We closed all sorts of gaps by bringing other kids up. So what was the theory? That was, if you teach, if you get to teach and not just do discipline, good things are going to happen for all of us.